When I moved into Sydney's inner west around a year ago, I passed a particularly small roundabout in Marrickville. In passing, I thought, gee, that's a pretty small roundabout. And I didn't think much of it. Until later, I thought, I don't think I've actually seen a smaller roundabout in my whole life. Is this the smallest roundabout in the entire world? What I didn't know at the time was that this research was going to lead to more than I bargained for. I now have the answer to that question, but I'd like to tell you the story first. Okay, roundabout facts. So oldest roundabout, Square of the Star, Arc de Triomphe, cool, no worries. Biggest, okay, Malaysia, Putrajaya roundabout, 3.5 kilometers. Okay, smallest. What's the smallest? I estimated my roundabout to be about 2 meters in diameter, so I'm looking for something smaller than that. Humans love extremes. They love superlatives. They love the tallest, the smallest, and the loudest, and the quietest, and biggest, the brightest, the dullest. Well, maybe not the dullest, but you know what I mean. I spent a majority of my childhood reading the Guinness Book of World Records, which is dedicated to debated topics such as this. So, you would think that if we know the oldest and the biggest of something, then the smallest would be without debate. However, in the case of the world's smallest roundabout, it certainly is. Time to get pedantic. When you shrink a roundabout, engineers quickly wonder what they can get away with. Paint is their friend because it's cheap, and they often try to fool drivers into thinking that it's infrastructure, even though it's not. The UK certainly loves its mini roundabouts, but it's clear to see that these painted roundabouts don't garner much respect. So, I'm not interested in that. They're in the bin. They're out. They don't count. I'm only interested in roundabouts that could cause a bit of damage to cars if they don't respect it. So, with that in mind, I've created something called the Roundabout Respectability Index, or RRI for short. This will weed out pretenders, like paint, which receives a 0 out of 10 on the RRI scale. I found a tiny roundabout in Bullen Close, Cambridge, England, and this one's made of brick, not just paint. And it's far smaller than the one in my street. It was measured by John from Automotive Shenanigans at just over 40 inches, a little over a metre in the new language. Had I finally found what I was looking for? Well, let me consult the scientific RRI scale. You'll notice that this roundabout only protrudes around a couple of millimetres off the road surface, which leads to a very disappointing score of 1 out of 10. We can't very well have this roundabout representing the world, so unfortunately I'm going to have to discard it. I'm sorry. And I will visit it when I'm in England, because I do appreciate it, but I just don't respect it. I'd call this one about a 6 out of 10. I was standing out here for about 45 minutes filming, and only a handful of people ignored it or drove around it. I found a lot of other claims of the smallest roundabout in the world. We had Kenya, which was a pile of tyres. That's impermanent and that's disallowed. Malaysia had a large concrete cylinder, which has a high RRI, but it was quite a bit bigger than our roundabouts. The USA had a go too, and their roundabout was about 10 times bigger, so they got a real sheltered population over there. Now, I was just about to call the one in my street the smallest in the world, but those of you who have Googled the smallest roundabout in the world before will know that I have just been leading you along for dramatic purposes. There's a different one in my country that shows up that's the smallest. Queensland, a place that I actually quite like. It's home to the Great Barrier Reef, Australia's most impressive national icon, for now. It's also home to Australia's tallest building with Australia's fastest elevator. Queensland is great, so when I saw that it had Australia's smallest roundabout, it didn't fill me with the rage that you would expect from a New South Welshman. What it did fill me with was curiosity. How was it crowned? There is no Guinness Book entry for this. There was no ribbon cutting from the local council announcing, "Look what we've made. Isn't it cute?" What we do have are over 100 reviews from people who have travelled from all over the world to visit one simple map pin. This is the reason I love Google Maps so much. It's been put on the map by being put on the map. This entry just popped up a little less than 2 years ago, and without peer review, it's received the title. How cute. I saw the roundabout, and I thought, this is a pretty respectable RRI. A hatchback could scrape on that. I reckon it's maybe a 6 out of 10. Again, it's scientific. This is something that I'm happy to have the world represented by. I was looking upon the reviews, I was seeing a golden retriever, I was seeing sausage dogs, I was seeing people posing and people getting up on the roundabout and saying, "Isn't this great? Look what we've got in Mackay. We're famous." People were climbing up and basking in the quirky discovery that they were standing on the smallest roundabout in the world. I felt a warm glow, knowing that this little place was bringing a bit of joy in an increasingly divided world. I often post on social media about little pieces of infrastructure. I appreciate the little things. This perfectly aligns with my ethos, with my philosophy on life. But the more I looked at these photos, the more I thought to myself, it doesn't look like that small though. I completed some rough calculations using Google Maps' distance measuring tool to compare mine and Mackay's. Geez, it's pretty close. I read all the reviews of Mackay's roundabout, but I couldn't actually see anybody measuring it. I mean, I hadn't measured mine yet, but I estimated it to be around 2 meters. I just wanted to know its diameter so I could compare it with my one. Considering it's known for its smallness, I honestly just thought that somebody would have measured it before. I found a news report from Channel 7 that featured a measuring tape and a cutaway, but no official measurement was forthcoming, much to my chagrin. So I thought I'd be able to estimate it from one of the photos. I looked up average size of a adult golden retriever. I looked up length of a mid-2000 Suzuki GSXR. I sighed and I realized that I wasn't going to get an accurate answer until someone in Mackay got out a tape measure and gave it a go. I was going to have to do something much more dramatic. Join a local Facebook community page. So I decided upon what's happening in Mackay. I was reaching out beyond state boundaries for the good of information, for truth, to get the facts straight. I was 10 years old when I received my first fact book for Christmas that year. It was this one. It had George Washington on the cover with wooden teeth. I love facts. I like knowing things for sure. Now, I later found out what George Washington's teeth were really made of. It wasn't wood. This fact book had betrayed its very name. Fact books I found are riddled with errors. These wooden teeth made me a more skeptical person, so I just didn't want to believe Mackay's claim on the surface. I needed the real facts. I needed the truth. Back to Facebook. The locals welcomed me, but I found that, despite our shared enthusiasm, a measurement wouldn't be able to be taken today due to the weather. In my haste to post, I hadn't looked at Mackay's forecast, which was thunderstorms all afternoon. So I continued to have great banter with the locals, with Michaela, with Donna, with Danielle. I was really starting to like this community. They were curious with the comparison too. I was biding my time, until a post came through that would change the course of this whole investigation. Kaylee from a local Mackay radio station, Star 101.9, had commented, "As it turns out, Mackay's news cycle is even slower than I could have imagined." She offered me a quid pro quo, as I typically say in Latin.
"I'm interested in your proposal that you may have a smaller roundabout than us. Would you come on the show tomorrow morning so we can discuss this further? In return, I will measure the roundabout on your behalf."
If you know me, you know that I'm not one for the spotlight. There was something different about this opportunity though. This time, I was making a video. This time, this could actually work to my advantage. Perhaps I can parlay this into something, garnering a few more views, which might make me feel something. The truth was the cheese attached to the string called fame. I was a mouse and I would do anything for that cheese. I quickly exchanged messages with Kaylee, and 9:30 was set as the interview time. Hollywood was knocking at the door. It was at this point I thought I should probably measure my roundabout. A lot is riding on this. My partner and I moseyed on up to the local roundabout and we took a measurement of 1.97 meters in diameter. Okay, so the measurement I took, and this might be controversial, isn't extremely accurate. The top is domed, and I'm not smart enough to figure out the maths, so the measurement that we took of 1.97 meters would be a little bit overshooting it. It would actually be a little bit smaller than that. I went to sleep excited, knowing that tomorrow would be my brush with fame, and I would finally know the answer to my question that I'd pondered for hours. What's the smallest roundabout in the world? The next day, I sat in a meeting room, awaiting the call from Queensland. Downstairs, a speaker blasting Star 101.9 is huddled around in anticipation by all of my co-workers. I receive the call from Queensland. I'm on the air. I hold my own with Mackay's preeminent radio hosts Scotty and Kaylee, who are as gregarious as they come, full of bursting excitement. We talked about the roundabout, and we talked about their tiny traffic lights at the airport. We got along very well. I don't think Scotty liked me. They added some sizzle, revealing we'll be back after this Olivia Dean song for the final results. So come give me a call and we fall in love. Alright, we're finally here. What's the diameter of Mackay's roundabout? Welcome to a moment in history.
And the full length is 2,000. There's claims that it's not actually the world's smallest.
His claim was right.
What was yours again, Adam?
What you're saying is simply on air that my roundabout with a diameter of 1 meter and 97 centimeters is 3 centimeters smaller than the smallest roundabout in the world. Is that what we're reporting?
I think that
Hang on.
we might need a second check with my measurement skills, but
Look,
it's
I've seen pictures of I haven't seen pictures of your roundabout, Adam. This is the problem here.
yes.
Look, I have photos that I can put up on
Please.
social media. I was playing my role slightly, but look, I've got to put up these measurements because we may have a bombshell on our hands this morning, Mackay.
I feel that we may have claimed prematurely that we have the world's smallest.
Wait, are you telling me that the smallest roundabout in the world is 3 centimeters larger than the roundabout just down the road? Marrickville was the new Mackay. In less than 24 hours, I had single-handedly dethroned Mackay from this title. I had the information, and it had been broadcast to thousands of people. But it was up to me as to what to do with it. I came back downstairs to a small round of applause from my team. Victory for New South Wales was declared. It took a while to come down from the excitement of being on the radio, and I just sat back at my desk and mulled over the new information that I had. Many people say we live in a post-fact society. The truth of the matter is that the truth may not matter. Whose side you're on clouds your judgment to the point that facts are totally denied. I realized that despite me going on the radio, it would require a much larger campaign to change the world's mind. It was like when Pluto got downgraded from a planet to a dwarf. Nobody liked that. Maybe it was the right thing to do at the time, but a lot of people were really hurt, and Pluto's 6 billion kilometers away. No one is ever going to stand on Pluto, but hundreds of people, if not thousands, have stood on Mackay's roundabout, and thousands more will. Victory is reserved to those who are willing to pay its price. I quoted that at the beginning of the video. I thought I had a victory. The people in the office certainly thought that I had. Go New South Wales, we've had this thing the whole time that nobody knew about. I thought I'd won as well. I've certainly acted like it when I was on the radio. I kept coming back to Scotty and Kaylee's reaction after the news, the disappointment, the pain, the denial in their voices. Mackay doesn't have the Sydney Harbour Bridge, it doesn't have the Opera House. So, unlike Pluto, I'm not going to downgrade Mackay's roundabout. I had victory within my grasp, but I'm not willing to sacrifice the happiness of the people of Mackay for it. I'm just not willing to pay the price for victory. I'm happy to hold this information and share it in small circles such as this. I'm happy that I have the facts, and I'm happy that someone could find it out for themselves. I'm perfectly happy knowing that there are thousands more people who are going to visit that street corner in Mackay, and they're going to take their photo with the smallest roundabout in the world. I'm going to leave them their superlative. I have since added my roundabout to Google Maps as a tribute to this fact-finding mission. I have just contributed one more fact to the world, simply the smallest roundabout in New South Wales. If there's a new edition of the George Washington Fact Book, and it includes the fact the smallest roundabout in the world is in Mackay, Queensland, I'll just smile and read on. With so little at stake, I've learned that sometimes facts do care about feelings. If you'd like to visit the smallest roundabout in the world, it's on the corner of Binnington Esplanade and Kippen Street in Mackay, Queensland. If you would like to visit the smallest roundabout in New South Wales, just travel to the corner of Weems Street and Newington Road in Marrickville, Sydney. Thanks for watching. I would like to thank Kaylee and Scotty from Star 101.9, my partner Bella, my colleagues at work, but most of all, the people of What's Happening Mackay. I hope to visit Mackay one day, and I will stand proudly upon your roundabout. I'd also like to visit your short traffic lights. They're really small. I wonder if they're the shortest traffic lights in the world. The rare roundabout U-turn. How many degrees is that? 450? We've got a 450 degree turn. That's sick.